do a few very close contacts.
Gulfstream County Commission meeting is called to order. Please rise. Flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Ganger?
Here.
Commissioner Stanley?
Here.
Commissioner White? Here. Commissioner Orthwein? Here. Mayor Morgan?
Here.
Let the record show that Attorney Randolph and Town Manager Fleischer are also present.
Had an opportunity to review the minutes for the last meeting on November 14th. Are there any corrections or additions? If not, is there a motion?
Move approval of minutes.
Reading.
Commissioner Ganger?
Yes.
Commissioner Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein? Yes. Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Any additions, changes to the agenda? I believe there is one. The resolution that was given, I received it last night, to be added at the very end.
That would be added as item 11B. It's resolution 14-17.
Our next commission meeting is January 9th of 2015. Any commission members know that they will not be here? Very good. Public comment. Any members of the public? Mr. O'Hare, do you care to comment?
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. If it hasn't been said yet, may I be the first. Merry Christmas, and staff as well. And for any of you that are Jewish, Happy Hanukkah. The town's made a bunch of assertions lately through council and public meetings that my request for public records are somehow a scam I have perpetrated for the purpose of making money, extorting money from the town. The mayor has repeatedly called my claims in court to be malicious and scandalous. The town has publicly announced that I am somehow guilty of organized crime. I mean, really. The town has a star witness, Mr. Joel Chandler, in this regard. And I've sent you each recently, Mr. Mayor and each commissioner, an email from Mr. Joel Chandler that I have nothing to do with any of this, that I'm completely innocent. I've suffered and continue to suffer from the town's accusations. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to give you this opportunity, given Mr. Chandler's email and given the lack of any evidence that I have anything to do with organized crime, for you to publicly retract that accusation now and stop this continued suffering and damage.
Let's let the facts play out, Mr. O'Hare, and let's let the law play out as well.
Play out is very expensive, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
O'Hare. Any other comments from the public?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Graziano.
Good morning, Tony Graziano, 3259 Polo Drive. But this morning I'd like to make some comments not only on my own behalf, but on behalf of the Town of Gulfstream Civic Association. Mr. Bo Delafield, our president, couldn't be here this morning, so he asked me to express on behalf of the association our profound thanks to the staff for the very difficult year they've had to deal with. Let's face it, in 2014, the staff has had to deal with over 1,000 public record requests. They've had to deal with a flood of lawsuits, all of which, in the view of the Civic Association, are warrantless and frivolous. They've had to deal with some inappropriate situations at Town Hall, which resulted in the installation of additional security features here. And we also understand that one of our nice police officers has been accused of a racist comment. All of this puts incredible pressure on our town employees, and we at the Civic Association applaud them for how they have handled it. The town of Gulfstream is really a wonderful place to live, and we think that almost all of our residents, except perhaps two, appreciate just how wonderful a place it is and how great our employees are. So from those of us who do support you, thank you for a great year. We look forward to even a better 2014. And since this is the last Town Commission meeting before the new year, Merry Christmas to you all and Happy New Year.
Any other comments from the public?
I have nothing to say. Merry Christmas.
If not, let's move to the public hearing. First, any ex parte communications relative to either of the applications?
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to step down on item 8A. My law firm, McMillan & Stanley, handles various legal matters for the applicant.
Very good.
I've simply driven by the properties.
All right, let's move to the first application.
We need to swear in.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mark.
Anyone who intends to speak at the public hearing, please stand to be sworn. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. For the record, Mark Marsh, Bridges Marsh Architects. I'm here today with Keith Williams from Missouri Williams Landscape Architects, representing Mr. Richard Veens and Patricia Verhan on the property on 1424 North Ocean Boulevard. We presented this to the ARPB and we got unanimous approval, so I'm going to try to make it as brief, but please stop me or ask questions as I go along. The property is located just south of the golf course, and it's the property I highlighted here. I would say it's one of the finest properties in town, not only just size but orientation. So we've spent a long time with the owners and landscape architects and other consultants trying to site the proposed building here. So while I have this slide, interestingly, the orientation one naturally wants to align the new structure with a parallel element such as a property line, but it may be difficult to see here, and I'll show you in the site plan shortly. All these properties don't have a parallel relationship with their property lines. They're all slightly askewed to the southwest, and I think it's historically important because it does take the benefit of the wonderful sights or the views that they have. Let me get this thing to work. Here we go. Bill, you gotta, no, there we go.
I'll try.
I woke up, I guess. This is the site plan. To the left is the north, the golf course, and to the south is the basin. As I just mentioned, the building is oriented slightly to the southwest instead of being parallel to the property lines. It's set back in quite far, and the setbacks are about 80 feet from the bulkhead, which exceeds. This project doesn't require any variances, special exceptions, and it's really complying in every form. It's approximately 12,000 square feet. I will let Keith go through the hardscape and landscape elements, which I think are important in the proposal. The floor plan, basically, there is a symmetry in the floor plan through the center of the arrival area of the house, where there's a sense of symmetry across the main two-story portion of the residence. There is a wing, which is a garage and service wing, off to the east and north. I won't go into detail in the plan. It's fairly traditional in its layout, as I'll discuss in the architecture shortly. This is just a blow-up of it. The second floor, again, mimics that symmetry, which is the main bedroom areas and private areas. There is a pavilion, which I'll show you shortly again, which is by the pool, the roof plan. The elevations, it's very much in that Caribbean, Anglo-Caribbean vein, but it does have a Georgian influence. Again, the symmetry and the balance across the main entry element. Everything is stacked over windows, fenestrations, all stacked. I'm just going to go through this quickly because I do have a video which will illustrate this much better. I don't want to bore you to death. This is the south, again, very balanced, more transparent, obviously, to take advantage of the views. We do have a element here, which is a breakfast area, which is an octagonal element with a copper roof. Again, just to break up the mass. At this point, I'll let Keith come in and discuss the hardscape landscaping, and then I'll come back with a video and we'll go through the architectural.
Good morning.
Morning.
For the record, Keith Williams and Better Williams Design.
Just you can go up and down here.
Okay. Can you all hear me? Is that good?
Sure.
All right. So we have a single entrance.
Excuse me, maybe you'd like to hold the mic. There
How about that? Is that better? Okay, so we have a single entrance coming off of North Ocean Boulevard, leading you into the house with a entry columns, and gate greeting you at the front of the house. Some relocated sea grape trees flanking the driveway as you enter in. And you pass through a lot of heavy vegetation. We're focusing on drought tolerant, low maintenance materials. Things that take less water, less care, and they can kind of grow and be more natural. So it's actually more of a natural landscaping than a formal or organized landscaping. Driveway leads you into the forecourt, which is circular, so you can pull in, park, and drive cars past another car if it's parked in front. We have a large rusty fig tree in the center of the forecourt. Vinax palms, coconut palms, grasses, firebush, lots of native materials surrounding the foundation of the house. The material is a tabby concrete, and as you go through to the service side of the house, which is on the east side, we switch over to a paver, a light grade paver. And again, we continue with heavy landscaping, native materials, trees and palms. You can see we have a lot of coconut palms and Vinax palms scattered throughout the front of the house. The garage area is back on the east side, where there's a gate and a pathway leading you through to a secret garden off the breakfast room. And then we have a terrace off the pool, the pavilion. Much of the landscaping on the east and on the west side will remain. There's quite a few trees that we'll move and use throughout the property. Then we have a pool and a few palms scattered throughout the pool. A low water feature off to the west side of the pool. It's hard to see, but it's right here, kind of natural formation of rocks with water that spills down into the pool. And an outdoor fire pit. It's freestanding and with a terrace around it, surrounded again by palms and grasses and gingers. And that's
Go through it. I think you have
some
some
elevations.
elevations.
Just gonna see the arrow.
Yeah, here it is.
So this is a blow up of the front of the house. And then this is the back. You can see more of the rock formation at the east side of the pool. The outdoor terrace with a fireplace. The secret garden, which incorporates a water feature and has a pathway that leads over it, almost acting like a bridge. And then we have elevations. Let's see if I can blow these up.
The video will show it.
What's that?
The video will show it.
Oh, the video will show it. This is the main entrance of the house, and then the south entrance, looking back from the water. And then these are just more or less construction documents. You want That concludes the landscape portion, unless there's more landscaping on the video.
Okay, if I could, or attempt to get to the video here. What I'd like to do now is just give you a three-dimensional review. We're kind of brief on the technical aspects because I think this is more effective from a visual standpoint. So you just bear with me and see if I can. This is coming in through the driveway Keith just mentioned. As you approach the house, that's that banyan in the center, and coming into the motor court to the entry of the house. The colors are very, I have them here in my hand, they're kind of a pale cream with a St. Lucia teal accent on the shutters. This is the garage wing. And you see the entry. You're driving around. That's meant to be a Royal Poinciana. The roof material is a gray tile, similar to what's been approved lately by the town.
That's unbelievable.
This is the service area coming in through the service garage wing. You'll see the area just to the right as we flip by. That's the mechanical field for all the air conditioning generator. This is the garage, three-car garage, the laundry room and service area. That's that breakfast octagonal area I mentioned with the copper roof. This is the secret garden Keith was referring to, which has a koi pond that you walk over, and that's the pavilion. It's going to be for barbecuing, pizza out, and recreating. That's the fire pit. Again, the structure. The rear of the house, you'll see it's interrupted by this loggia and a terrace above it, as well as on the east and west, these trellis elements that create like an eyebrow effect over the fenestration. It's a classical Chippendale rail. You'll see the shutters again, that St. Lucia teal. There are some terraces on the front which come off of the bedrooms. This is kind of depicting pretty realistically what the landscaping would look like. And you'll see, as Keith mentioned, the intention is to keep the waterfront or the south side as open and unimpeded as possible. The pool is oriented right off the family room line. So hopefully that gives you a feel, and I'll answer any questions that the Commission may have.
Beautiful home. And it's a stunning recreation that is particularly helpful. in
Yeah, I think it's we've reached that stage now. Oops, I'll try to stop this thing. I think I'll just keep selling it, all right? There we go. I won't touch it. So I'll answer any question the Commission or...
Mark, what's the square footage versus the house that was there before? Was there a house there that was torn down at one point?
Yeah, the original house was about 5,000 square feet. It was a single story. And actually we got a do-over thanks to Mr. Beans, because we did have approved previously another residence for this lot. But this, I think, is a huge improvement and a better use of the lot itself.
Yeah, philosophically, this is an example of what Gulfstream should aspire to be, which is, as homes become obsolete or for any other reason, this improvement is staggering and compliments to the owners and to you all.
Thank you.
And that's the word complimentary, because it complements the
Yep.
lot.
Yep.
Taking the
Yeah.
features that you've identified, Keith and Mark, I think it's just
The home's a modest size.
tasteful.
It's not, I mean, it's 10,000 living with 2,000 garage and service area, so it's not, You're actually allowed up to, I think, 15,000, so it's not overbuilding by any means.
But the gardens and the surrounding landscape is important to the Bean, so that's.
Well, I think it's important to us too. It's important to the entire community. It's who we are, what we would like to be. I think everyone in this room is probably jealous. But so be it. Well done.
Thank,
It's lovely. And the landscaping is wonderful too.
Thank you.
don't get carried away here.
Please
I
don't
will.
get carried away.
I wish they were all this good. How's that?
Any other questions? Is there a motion? Somebody want to read
Okay. Oh, go ahead. Please.
Okay, make a motion to recommend approval of 11th Street architectural site plan based on a finding. I do have a question here. There was an issue about the.
Actually, the motion would be on the second page.
Okay, so that was resolved?
That should clear it up. Yes.
Okay, that issue about.
If you can read that pretty well.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, then make a motion to approve the 11th Street architectural site plan, recommended approval with one condition. Any minor modifications in the landscape plan shall be submitted to the town manager for review and approval, and any major modifications shall be brought back to the ARPB for review and approval prior to commencement of landscaping 5-0.
Second.
Read it.
Commissioner Ganger.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes?
Commissioner Orthwine.
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas, by the way.
Merry Christmas.
Good job.
Mark, will you be able to get out that door as a vital?
Not Merry Christmas.
All right, let's move on to the next application on behalf of Mr. Wadani.
Maybe this might be the time. Mr. Jones, do you intend to speak?
Yes, yes, he will.
Maybe before you get started, we can swear in.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Good morning, Commissioners. Here. My name is Mark Grant. I'm the attorney for 3140 Polo LLC, the owner of one of the lots. I'm also counsel for Seaside Builders, which is the contractor who will be working with the owner of the other two lots that are subject to this matter. 3140 Polo is the owner of Lot 7, and we're here to ask you to abandon a 5-foot easement and accept in replacement for it a 10-foot easement. These are drainage easements. We have Joe Pike here, who's the engineer, who will be able to tell you that the current easement is not being used and probably would never need to be used. We're going to give, in replacement for the 5-foot easement, a 10-foot easement. Again, for drainage purposes, should the town ever need it, although again, it's unlikely you would ever need it. But this should not be a complicated matter with respect to the easement, but I do know that there has been some concern about what's going to happen after the easement is moved and the 3 lots are then going to be owned by one owner. What is going to be built on the property? I have a letter from the owner of the other 2 lots that authorizes us to tell you that the intention is to come back to the commission to replat these 3 lots into 2 lots. We have drawings and we're going to show you what we intend to do. The new 2 lots would have 2 homes on it. The coverage on the new lots that we're going to create would be approximately 22% of the larger lot and 25% of the smaller lot. And Richard Jones is going to walk you through that. Although we're not here to ask you to approve anything with respect to the new homes to be built because these are still very preliminary drawings. I have found out this morning that the owner of the 3 lots likes the design. is kind of in favor of it, but we still have work to do on it. But I'm here on behalf of the applicant and the owner of the other 2 lots to commit to you that we are not going to build one house, one large house on 3 lots. So I just want to make that clear. I'd like to give Richard Jones an opportunity to show you what we're planning to do with these 3 lots in the future.
Thanks, Mark. Good morning. Richard Jones with Richard Jones Architecture. We have our low-tech approach here. If you'd like to see a video, I'm going to have to speak to Mr. Ladowny about my fee. But what I'd like to first represent by this first board is exactly the condition of the lots as they sit today, currently at the intersection of Polo and Palm Way. 3140 Polo may look familiar. It's a house that we brought before you a few months ago and received approval on to construct a 3,600 square foot AC home, and demolition has subsequently started on that lot. Directly adjacent to that lot is the double lot that's on the corner that has existing structures on it that will eventually be demolished should a new home be proposed and approved. What's depicted by the highlighted areas in yellow is an existing 5-foot easement between 3140 and 3180 Polo. We have Joe Pike here, our civil engineer from Enviro Design, that can answer any questions you might have regarding that easement. And depicted in blue is the proposed location of the new easement that Mr. Ladowny proposes that will be 10 feet versus the 5 that's current. So looking at this plan, it's clear to show the depiction of the current easement to the proposed. And you may ask, well, what's the purpose of moving that easement? Well, the purpose is to allow us to propose a replatting of the lots to 2 independent lots, which currently is what's there now. However, you'll notice that the property line, which was previously in this location, along with the easement, will be requested to shift to the north to this location. So again, if you compare the property line and the easement currently shown below to the one we're showing above, you'll notice it's a shifting to the north of the property line. And the 10-foot easement being recorded all the way to the south. Well, exactly what does that allow us to do? Well, with 2 independent lots, it allows us to design 2 completely independent homes. Both homes would conform to the town of Gulfstream zoning code for floor area ratio and setbacks and open space. They would both live independently with their own garages, a 3-car garage for the new 3140 house exiting out onto Polo Drive, and a 2-car garage exiting out around the corner on Palm Way. They would, the lot coverage is proposed by this graphic, as you can see, quite a bit of green space. 22% roughly lot coverage on the larger lot, 3140, and 25% roughly lot coverage on the smaller lot, 3180.
You could equate that to the square footage of the 2 lots? Gross square
Across both lots together, it would roughly be about 23 to 23.5% lot coverage across both lots combined.
I
Total
understand
area,
that.
total lot area.
Of the total lot, size of the lots?
Of the total size of the lot.
How many square feet in each of the
Each
lots?
of the larger lot being proposed as an effective lot area of 28,000 and change, and the smaller lot being proposed has a lot area of 16,500, which is I believe, the minimum size in the zoning district. And so when you look at the layout of the houses, you'll notice something else that's significant in that we're depicting the site plan, the conceptual ground floor footprint, and the conceptual second floor footprint. You'll notice that the majority of the square footage of both homes is on the ground floor. The second floor is minimized to just secondary bedrooms for the residences. And they both would have a complementary design that we're still exploring. We're looking at Gulfstream Bermuda, we're looking at Colonial West Indies. But it's clear to note that it would be two independent designs, and either one would be fully self-sufficient as an independent structure, conforming to all the LDRs for the town of Gulfstream. And so,
What is, Mr. Thrasher, what is the minimum size of a lot in that area?
I believe it's 16,000.
16,000,
Yeah,
and this is
so
16,500?
16,500 and change, as a matter of fact.
16,509.
16,509, and the larger lot is 28,612. That's effective lot area. And we're providing the FAR calculations of 0.33% on the smaller lot, and the combined 0.33 and 0.20 on the larger lot, and both will be at or below the required FAR, maximum required FAR.
It's almost identical to what's there now, we just flipped.
And the whole reason, again, for moving the easement is that easement and lot line cut right through this home, which, of course, this lot commands the view of the water directly west of the Intracoastal, versus the original, which had the smaller lot in the prime location and minimal water view and access for the larger lot. And to the owner of the property, working with Mr. Ladowny and myself, this is a much more preferred arrangement for his residents on this location.
But all you're seeking right now is to relocate the easement.
That's correct.
May I ask a stupid question, which is what could go wrong? That original easement, I'm told, or we're told, really didn't serve any useful purpose, because I gather that water never flowed through it, or whatever it was purposed for in the first place. Excuse me, I do realize that I misspoke. You and I chatted very briefly last night. I don't even remember about what, but just so that for the record, you and I did have a conversation about the elevations of the two properties that we were talking about today.
Yes, sir, and good morning, Commissioners, and I think I misspoke, I was thinking of another lot when you were talking about the Vines residence, so I didn't give you any useful information in here.
Right. Could we ask if there's any more ex parte communication?
Yes, I wanted to say I have ex parte in this too. I've talked to the Seaside Builder, Tom Ladowny, about separating the two lots. Just talked about in theory about instead of having one house, dividing it up into two. That's all.
None other than I run by it periodically on my 2 feet.
I don't know where it's appropriate, but I'm just going to say that I'm probably wrong on this, but Mr. Grant has verbalized, if I understood him correctly, there are 3 lots that, and in fact, I think presently there are plotted 2 lots. So we're talking about 2 lots that are presently platted in town of Gulfstream, not 3 lots. Is that correct?
If I may,
Okay,
3140 is lot 7.
yeah,
3180 are platted lots 5 and 6.
right,
So they're actually 2 platted lots where the one
Okay.
house is right now.
understood.
Unity of title.
I've not seen any unity of title recorded document, but I'm assuming that somehow, when that house was originally approved, there was something said to permit the house, one house to go on 2 lots. But I could not find anything of record as to a recorded unity of title.
Does that put the town at risk in any way at some future date if somebody does discover a document? Are we doing something that we shouldn't be doing?
I don't want to give you legal advice when you have counsel here, but I don't see any problem with what's happened in the past.
You asked the question, what could go wrong?
Well, yeah, right, and I'd still like to have that answer, but
And I think the concern perhaps of what could go wrong, and maybe some of the concerns of others here, would be that this plan doesn't go through, and the new owner decides, once this easement is abandoned, to use both these lots for one house. And I've spoken to Mr. Grant prior to this meeting and asked him what assurance he can give this commission that that will not happen. That indeed you will go forward with the plan as proposed here.
That is correct. We had that conversation, and on behalf of the applicant and the owner of the property, we are committing not to do one house on this 3 lot. The plan is to come back to you with a replat, to put into the 2 lot formation that Richard described, and come back with the design that fits all the town's requirements.
You will agree that in the event that someone does come back with a house for the whole lot, one house on the 2 lots, that the town could turn that down, that there would be no challenge to that?
Absolutely, that's not my intention.
All right.
Another ex parte, because I spoke to Mark earlier this morning as well, and he reiterated that very same comment tonight.
So at this point, we're ready to answer any other questions.
I'm going back to the question I answered and then interrupted my own self by, I was asking Joe, because the only issue we're supposed to be dealing with, I think today, are these easements.
That's
And they had to be there for some purpose at one point in time, and you've indicated, or collectively you've indicated, that the easements essentially serve no useful purpose.
Correct, Joe Pike for the record. That is an unoccupied easement. Right now, there are no pipes subsurface. And the best reason I can figure for that is that it's not located at the low spot of the road. Roads are designed in an undulating fashion, and of course we put our drainage inlets at the low spots, and that's where they go out to the intercoastal. We have, I believe this is a palm to the north. I don't know if this is large enough to see, but yeah, to the north, there are existing inlets on Palm Way, and then middle, I believe it is, to the south, and those go into the intracoastal now. The only conceivable use I can see for this easement is if for some reason one of those became unserviceable, collapsed, and you couldn't repair it for some reason. This could be used as an alternate outfall for you if you ran pipes to it, connected those other inlets to them. But that's the only possible solution I could see, or use I could see for that for the town. Now, years ago, these 5-foot easements were fairly commonplace in the plats that I've seen in the 50s and 60s, but we've come to realize more recently that they're really not very functional if you need to repair or dig up a pipe. You can't get a piece of equipment back there. So I suggested a 10-foot easement, which is more common these days, and Mr. Ladani was happy to oblige. So really, you're getting a more functional easement should you ever need it. I can't see why you would, but just in case, it would be there for you.
Other questions from the commissioners?
Just one question. Although the applicant probably would not like this, another option would be just to have them come back with the replat and the easements is all part of one application.
If I may, that if we get approval to move
Come over here and say who you are.
Paul Engel with O'Brien, Student O'Brien. If we do get approval to move the easement, we're already working on the plat to show that we would actually cement it at that point, bring a replat in showing the 2 new lots with the new location, at which when this was recorded, it would become, you know, part of public record as to its location and everything. Which I believe would be a better way to do it. You'll just put it right on the plat.
I'm sorry, why would that be a better way to do it?
Because it's part of, you know, it goes with the lots, instead of doing, let's say, moving it and doing it by separate instrument, which can get lost when you search the public records.
Right.
This would be on there for anyone doing a survey or anything in the future. It would be right there, clear, and there's no mistaking it not being there.
Thank you.
Are the elevations different from, on the 2 easement? I mean, you've gone that far.
The road actually falls more towards the location. The high point is more towards the intersection with it falling this way. So by placing the easement down here, it's actually, in my opinion, not as an engineer, but as a surveyor, a better location because the road is pitching in this direction.
Yeah, the road pitches as it goes up Polo Drive.
Right.
As you go down, the road goes up.
The high
That's why
point
the
appears
low
to be
part
at the
is down
intersection
here.
where it flows down Palm towards the structures
Mhm.
that eventually do deposit into the intercoastal, and it flows south along Polo. So even this location, the asphalt here is a little lower than it is here.
I don't
So the road-
foresee either one of those locations being a collection
Right.
point per se, but if you could use it as a junction either way, if you needed to connect your other inlets to it.
I would like to address what Commissioner Stanley asked, and also reply to what Paul Engel pointed out. We're prepared to grant you a separate 10-foot easement today, and that would still be shown on the plat with the recording information of the separate easement. So it would not be any chance that somebody would miss it when reviewing title, because not only will it be a recorded separate instrument, it'll also be reflected with the recording information on the replat. I would ask you not to delay approval of the abandonment at this time, because very candidly, we have a contract to sell 3140, and that the abandonment and movement is a condition of the closing, and we would like to close next week.
In addition to that, if I may bring up the concept plan. Our office is already preparing the site plans for the 2 independent lots based on this concept plan that will be submitted on the 22nd of December for the official replat or lot split. So, you know, we are moving forward in this fashion. So any thought of, you know, 2 independent houses becoming one, I don't feel that will happen.
Can we approve it with, I don't see where the drainage is really part of this issue, replotting, because the replotting is going to happen hopefully by next month, right?
That's the plan.
But the drainage really has nothing to do with the replotting, except it's right in the middle of it. I mean, you're gonna move it to a better area.
Correct.
It's actually down gradient from the current location.
Yeah.
And it's also 10 feet wide versus 5 feet wide, so that it makes it, if you ever did need to use it, you're gonna have a practical easement that we can access. Additionally, could I speak? Is it, or do I have to respond?
I got this one. Come over here and be sworn.
Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Just if I may, just a couple of points of clarification. My name is Tom Ladani. I've been here several times on other projects. Thanks for your time today. This situation, we happen just, I know that the town of Gulfstream is always very concerned about what people are doing and who's moving into the neighborhood and so on, and what the intention of the developer like myself is, who I developed the Spence property down the road, and we've always tried to do exactly what we've told the town that we're going to do. I've had several meetings with Mr. Thrasher and Rita Taylor on anything that comes up. This happens to be a piece of property that's being sold to a gentleman and his wife, who are residents of Gulfstream. They presently live at the Spence property. They're very, very nice individuals. They plan on making this their homestead and their permanent residence for a very long time. So I think we have a very, very nice family. And also, they've been very cooperative with me in terms of my desire to come back. I had to go meet with them, talking about the easement change, the fact that you know, we weren't gonna be building one house on one large piece of property. There were some rumors that I was buying the property to the west of this house. And every day I hear a different rumor, but there were rumors. I assure you that I have no intentions of buying any of the, I'm not buying that property. I don't have it under agreement. It's just this deal. All I'm looking for right now is to move this easement to the south boundary of the property, the 10-foot easement. We will be coming back before you for architectural review through ARPB and this commission again for the design criteria review and your outside consultants if necessary for the two homes. So again, I'm only looking to move the easement, and it is a condition of my sale, and I really request your consideration to just approve the easement being relocated. And I also have a written signature from the buyer that's buying the property from me, agreeing to that, and I'm making a representation of Seaside Builders as the developer of the saying that this property will not be subdivided into one large parcel.
The plat that you're anticipating bringing back is to divide the property that we're looking at, what is essentially 2 lots, and just essentially subdividing it somewhat differently. It's gonna be the same as it is now. It's approximately 16,000 square feet to the south. That's moving to the north, to the corner of Palm Way, and then the larger parcel. We're basically just flipping it over. For the water view.
That's right.
It's not your intention to purchase an additional property to the west and then consolidate those 2
No,
properties.
I'll even give an agreement to the city to that effect, or to the town. I have no intention of doing anything further than what I'm doing here. I have no intention in creating one large lot. I've made a representation here today. I've got a written document from my buyer to the same effect.
Can we make it part of the approval today?
You can ask Mr. Grant his opinion in regard to that. I've spoken to him
To
in
make
regard
sure
to
this-
it. It's already on the record that this is what they're going to do, and it's already on the record that if they were to come back and try to make this one lot, that we could turn it down. And I would also make it, if you wanted to make it part of the record that what Mr. Ladani just said, that he's not going to add any parcels from the west to it, you can certainly do that.
Okay.
One other thing I'd like to point out, these are 3 platted lots. If we would ever try to come back to make it one, you could turn us down. We don't have a unity of title of record on any of these lots.
You have complete control over the process, even beyond, based on the fact that my desire and wish that you grant me this relocation to this easement, you've got complete control moving forward, because I've got letters stating that we're not gonna do any further subdivision other than creating the 2 lots. All we're doing is moving the easement. I'll agree that I'm not doing any further subdivision of it. And then as far as the house design, you have that opportunity to critique the house design when it comes back through ARPB and through your board and the outside consultants review. So,
Mark, you wouldn't have any objection to this being approved, subject to the comments made by the applicant today that are on the record?
No, that's fine. It's subject to is the wording that I'd like you to use as opposed to condition.
Will the 2 designs be done simultaneously so that the neighbors who are going to be looking at this holistically as a totality can say, you know, yes?
Actually, that's a good question, Mr. Ganger. They're both going to be submitted simultaneously. They're both going to be designed to be relatively compatible in the overall architectural scheme, so that when we come in for approval, I have no problem with you approving both of them together. I mean, I'm willing to cooperate in any way that I can. I don't want, certainly my intention is not to disrupt the charm and the character of that section of Gulfstream, which is basically what I consider to be, you know, a very, very attractive area. Yeah, that's my intention. So yeah, everything will be submitted together. And Mr. Grant, you have, I didn't remember what you just said about how you would prefer.
No, if subject, the approval would be subject to the comments and commitments that are made today.
Yes.
Which is fine with me.
I think technically we could hold them to 3 lots too.
Yes, that's correct.
That's so, I mean, we have a big stick at the end of the day because there's no unity of title. So as they proceed, they're going to have to combine the two lots. I mean, I don't see the drainage as, it's a better place to put the drainage, actually.
Tom, your thoughts as an attorney who does this sort of work?
Well, you've got lots 7, 6, and 5. It's been confirmed, although we haven't seen the chain of title and all that going back to the root of title, that what we call, I guess, the old Schultz home, I believe, which is 5 and 6, has no unity of title, even though the structures traverse across lots 6 and 5. So once they tear it down, you're going to have everything down. You're going to have 3 platted lots as it exists on the plat in the record here. And then the applicant has to come back and change the 3 into 2. We have to approve it and go through that process, or it stays the same as 3, which you have 3 houses, or you have 2 houses. So the lack of the unity of title just by default kind of gives us an extra step and a little more control over the situation. As long as it's confirmed that there isn't one, and that's what's being represented here today without seeing the search.
One of those, Mr. Stanley, one of those 3 plotted lots, 5, 6, and 7, one of them, which is on the Schultz parcel consists of two plots. One of those does not conform to the current LDI, is not buildable. So it wouldn't be buildable on its own. So you really only have the maximum capability of building 2 houses anyway.
Other questions for Mr. Ladani or Mr. Grant? Any comments from the public? Skip, what's the procedure? I see we have both a petition and a resolution.
The procedure would be to read the resolution and approve the resolution of abandonment if that ends up to be your desire. You could ask Rita to read the resolution.
Yeah, Rita, would you please read the resolution under consideration?
This is resolution number 14-16. A resolution of the Town Commission, Town of Gulfstream, Palm Beach County, Florida, vacating and abandoning a drainage easement within the north 5 feet of Lot 7, as shown on the plat of Gulfstream Cove, as recorded in Plat Book 24, page 185, Public Records of Palm Beach County, Florida, Lot 7, and accepting an alternate drainage easement within the south 10 feet of Lot 7. Do you want me to read the entire thing?
No, I think that's sufficient.
But if you do pass it, just pass it subject to the representations and commitments that have been made by the applicant here today.
Okay, this is being presented this 12th day of December, 2014.
Does anyone have a motion for approval of this statement?
I would move to approve it, but with the subject of all the conditions about everything being said, that you're going to do the 2 lots as stated and not buy anymore. I mean, I have a personal interest. This is right down from my house. I don't want to see huge homes and a bunch of them, but I don't see a problem with moving the drainage at all. In fact, it'll help Palm Way because we do flood every once in a while because of some of the other drainage problems.
So you've moved to approve the resolution subject
Subject.
to the statements and considerations made public today.
Second that motion, so go ahead, Don, you win.
Rita?
Commissioner Ganger?
Yes.
Commissioner Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Does that take care of the situation?
Yes, it does.
Is there another motion, or is that it?
Do you want the acceptance of the new 10-foot easement that was part of the resolution, correct?
That was part of the resolution.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would you like us to sign and deliver it today?
Well, you're gonna have to dedicate that. Yeah, if you got it in your package, you could sign it and deliver it.
Okay.
Thank you.
But I think the resolution.
You just voted
included
to abandon the easement, but do you need to have another motion to accept the new 10-foot? I'm just talking on your behalf.
I don't think so.
Okay, you all
I
set?
think that was included.
That
And
was part of
accepting,
it.
and it says in the last
Accepted.
sentence, and accepting an alternative
Yes.
drainage easement within the south 10 feet.
All right, that's for your benefit.
Yes.
Right, none
Yeah.
of which
I
becomes.
want to make sure you get your easement. Thank you very much for your help, folks.
You got
I
it.
really
I
really
have the
appreciate it.
easement, you've seen it, and we can just proceed to sign it and record it then. Unless you want to do the recording.
No, you can record it.
Okay, I'll do
But
that.
just let me make sure that we see the signed document.
I'll show it to you before it's recorded so you can approve it.
Good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks for your time, I appreciate it.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, just a general comment. This item was on the agenda at a previous meeting, and I commend particularly staff and the applicant for taking the time to make it easier for us to understand what we would have been asked to approve before we had the facts that you submitted today. We appreciate that. I know it took us a little more time, but that's
Always happy to help.
right.
Well, I think it made it a little more clearer and
made
it
a
gave
lot
us a
clearer.
little more.
No question. Right. Thank you very much to all.
All right, let's move on to reports. Mr. Brannan, the underground report.
Danny Brannan, Brandon Gillespie. You have a package in front of you that indicates that we're still on budget target for the phase one of the project. We're getting very close to wrapping that up. We've got a contractor bill, a Comcast bill, and the survey bill outstanding, which are all included in the projected cost to complete numbers. Page 2 of this package basically highlights some of the things that are really going on today. I'll start at the bottom. In phase 2 of the project, FPL is providing a design and binding cost estimate. As of yesterday, they're scratching their heads trying to figure out why their numbers aren't what they expect. So they're going through in a detailed fashion to finalize the cost for phase 2. They indicated that the cost they're coming out with is higher than they had anticipated. And you might think that's a bad thing. But in example, Jupiter Island, the first phase, they were real concerned about the way we were doing the project, and they inflated the labor. In other words, instead of having a nice, easy trenching job or whatever, they said, no, it'll be in the swamp and rock, and everything will be really hard. And so we want to add adders in there. And so they ran the price real high. We got a really good GAF credit out of that. And when the contractor came back and bid it at half the price, we ended up paying about way less than we would have normally if they had been right on the money. Well, they tightened up their pencils later, but they figured that out. So it's not really that bad a thing for us. We just need to get the numbers and get going. But they realized that overinflating the numbers is not in their best interest.
But that may be the good news, but the bad news is that you can't start the process of bidding the project until their number is in hand.
Their numbers and their design.
Yeah.
We have to have those in hand.
So what you're saying is that is a further delay?
Then we're going to have those to us by the end of November.
Mm-hmm.
And as of yesterday, they're scratching their heads and trying to figure. I talked to the project manager, John Lear, yesterday, and they are anxious to get those. He thought maybe that he would have this thing by the end of the day and they could, bring it forward. But I'm expecting no later than the end of this month. That's because they're diligently trying to finalize it.
So the answer is yes, we've lost another month?
That would be correct.
What is their issue? They're worried about it's a more complex directional bore and trenching up here in this neighborhood as opposed to the long runs in the South Dig because of all the, there's more houses up here and more meandering, or is it something totally unrelated?
My experience with things we're doing with them as time goes on is that their level of expertise is diminished. A lot of the seasoned veterans that worked for years are not there anymore. So they have a lot of new people. They have downsized a lot of their staff. We started out with 16,000 people back when I worked with them. The last I heard they were down to like 10 or 11,000 and just keep dropping staff. A lot of new people there. They had a very high level of college engineering graduates that were working with the company and have tried to go to a less expensive manpower level. And we find that their expertise is not anything close. We recently had a job on Palm Beach that they couldn't figure out how it could be done, and they basically had their construction crews go out and look at it, and they all came back to me and said it can't be done. And so I designed it, and I said, okay, take the designs and get with your crews and tell me if it can be done. Then they came back 3 weeks later and said, oh yeah, we can do this. So all that has to do with their level of training, experience, and that kind of thing. And I think that a lot of this is a reflection of that. It's less manpower, less expertise.
Any other questions, Mr. Brown?
Telephone. We signed the check on December 12th, 2013 for the telephone portion of this, of the south end. It is now past that, past a year now.
Well, they cannot start until they get the.
I understand that, But they've had our money for a year. And quite frankly, Danny, I mean, these are incredibly tolerant people sitting out here. And I'm wondering whether or not we shouldn't have somebody from the telephone company come here and present to us why is it taking so darn long? You've given us, you know, the background information. But every one of us pays a bill to AT&T. I assume most of us do anyway. You know, they work for us. And this is just outrageous. Comcast at least had the courtesy to not bill us until this week.
Well, that's not exactly correct.
Well, what is correct, Danny?
We had a proposal from AT&T and I had a proposal from Comcast, and we executed the AT&T payment. The Comcast payment we did not execute. The Comcast payment we are about to execute.
Has been executed.
And
check signed.
And the current Comcast payment is, I think, 107,
I think.
It's 106 or 7 or 105. Let's face it. It's $105,907. 2 years, when we got estimates from both companies in the past, the Comcast was 81,000. Today, the Comcast is 105,000. So by paying the AT&T back then, we've avoided price increases. So would we have been better off paying 81,000 a year and a half ago? So today we're paying 105,000. So one we did the way that you might suggest, that we don't pay it until we get ready to do it. The other, if we paid it in advance, we locked in that price.
What leverage do we have, or what options are available to us to bring them out to do the work for which they have been paid?
Well, they cannot do the work until our contractor provides the as-built construction drawings, because they don't really know what to do. Where has the pipe been put in the ground? Show me exactly what you put in so that we have to go out and do what we need to do. If things change, we need to see it on the as-bills. And we are in the process of getting those as-bills. I've got preliminary as-bills over the last week, and I've talked to High Power yesterday, and they're expecting to get all the contractors signed off as-bills in this week. Didn't get them today, but I should get them next week. They're right at the end of getting that done, and those will immediately go to Comcast and AT&T.
So that's really the reason for the delay.
That's right. They can't start until our contractor finishes.
Okay, and you expect to have those as-bills within the next, finalized in what, the next few weeks? by the end of the month?
I expect to get them within the next week.
Good. Any other questions?
On the bright spot, our demo street light that was painted black and sent over, is being repainted green. And the 10-foot pole and the light are in the process of getting put back together and shipped back to us. So we will eventually have this demo out here that represents the request of the town.
I hope all of them aren't like that. That's difficult.
Custom?
No, it's just, lighting is always more of a personal decision that ends up being a personal decision by the entire community. And so bringing those things into focus is always a challenge. But in this case, bringing the vendors into focus has also been a challenge.
Thank you, Brandon. Town manager.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Architectural Review Board, meeting is December 18th. Minutes of their report. Finance report. Give it. Bradford. Let's move up to the police chief. Chief Ward.
In response to numerous complaints received by our residents with regard to the disruption and damage caused by this ongoing construction here in town, particularly in the core area. I has directed that we take a look at stepping up our enforcement in this area. And we have done so to the point where we will now be able to issue citations for violations that result in these complaints. It will all be centralized on construction sites and damage caused off-site as a result of the construction. So we will be at a first violation warning situation, and second violation will result in $250 fine, and then progress. We have utilized the construction handbook to give us the opportunity to do this, because all of the responsibilities of the builders and contractors are outlined in that handbook, and they will be responsible for the citations that we issue. So I think it'll be a very good improvement, something I've been wanting to do for quite some time. A number of years ago, Mr. Randolph and I worked together on doing this very thing, and only to be thwarted by the courts who erected some obstacles that we couldn't overcome at the time. But presently we are moving forward, and we should be in a position to utilize this process very shortly.
When someone has to pay a fine, is that deducted from the construction bond, or is that separate?
No, that's not the construction. They would have to pay out of pocket, so to speak.
Other questions for Chief Ward?
I asked a question.
All right. Other questions?
I have one question on this real quick. For the town attorney, Skip, let's say you have 4 or 5 pending citations at the end of the project, will that hold up getting a CO? They're typically mutually exclusive things, but will that come into play?
Usually they are mutually exclusive, and I'm not sure we could hold up the CO on that basis. But my question was, can't we, under our manual, issue a stop work order if these things continue?
Yes.
So that's our leverage. If we give these warnings and give these tickets and they're not paid, I think that we can issue stop work order on the job.
Then you're definitely not getting your CO. You finish the job. So, all right, good question answered.
May I make a comment? I know I jumped out just as Danny was leaving. I
It's okay, we're coming back to you.
Pardon?
We're coming back to you.
Oh, you are? I thought you just, like always, you overlooked that.
Any other questions for Chief Ward? Otherwise, let's hear from our town manager.
Boy.
Well, and may I add that, request that the activity report from RP.
Yes, sir.
accepted as-
Accept that as submitted. Financial report and water usage.
I'll take the shoe out of my mouth first so that you can understand me. But I just have one simple comment, and that is that not reported in this financial report, but very important and relevant, is that we have received almost $1.2 million of revenues, ad valorem revenues, that's not reported. So that's a real comfortable feeling at this point in time. With no need to cash in or make any changes in the financial structure. That represents maybe 30% of the total ad valorem revenue, so.
So these are the prepaid taxes that have been gone through the system and get paid to us from by the county.
Yes, there are ad valorem revenues that we have received from the county. I don't know what portion might have been prepaid through mortgages and so on, but it's just not on your financial report, and I think it's important for you to know that, considering the financial challenges that we incurred. And going towards December, you know, it gets really tight, can get really tight because you haven't received those revenues. We count on our ad valorem revenues very materially, so we've gone beyond that point. We have them in the bank and usable, so.
Very good. Any other questions? Finance Director? Mr. O'Hare?
Mr. Mayor, may I make a question about the financial report? And I apologize for not understanding this. I'm more comfortable with a shovel in my hand than on a county ledger. But the only place I see legal services is on page 4. Is there someplace else where it shows up? Specifically, what I'm looking for is, it just doesn't seem to make sense to me. It says year-to-date $74,000, but I thought we were closer to $500,000. Between Sweet Apple, Richmond, Jones Foster, etc. That's at the bottom of page 4.
That's the admin legal services, correct?
I'm sorry?
Legal services dash admin that you're referring to, administrative.
Oh, so that's administrative.
I'm just trying to get the right number that
Oh,
you.
yeah, I'm sorry. It says legal services admin, and below it is legal services planning board.
Right.
It's the fourth from the bottom, page 4.
Sure, of course.
We've started a new fiscal year, so that $500,000 that you may be referring to was in the last fiscal year.
October 1st.
So we started a new fiscal year, October 1.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the YTD means for 2015.
We're in a new fiscal year, that is correct.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll accept those reports as submitted. Next is a resolution number 228-14-14322, the City of South Miami. Who would care to explain?
Well, actually, that isn't a resolution for us. That's a letter that came from South Miami expressing their resolution, which I'd be happy to comment on if anybody cares. We all
What's the point of it being on our agenda?
Only because when we receive a letter from another municipality, we put it in the package so that you know what they've done for us.
and they asked that this be
They- they-
distributed to
right,
all
right.
the commissioners.
But they didn't ask for any action. This is really just a, call for awareness, and.
I thought it called for participation
No,
by
well,
municipalities in this Congress.
It would eventually, but it's not their responsibility to tell us or ask us to participate in a multi-county, effort.
There actually is a plan that they put forward.
There is a plan they put forward. This county is about 1.5 feet above sea level and has the highest risk. And I can understand why they want a clarion call that we all have to get together and help deal with a challenge, which is at this point in time only partially proven. In other words, there are some areas that are flooding very badly, and action needs to be taken. The bigger picture is, over a long period of time, what should we, as combined communities, be doing to protect ourselves from rising sea levels and climate change, if you believe that climate change is the purpose, is why sea levels are rising in the first place. This is a very complex subject. It's not something that we're even prepared. I think we as Gulfstream are prepared to do much more than just continue to be involved in as many of these programs as we can, and I am. And the coalition is. We sit on a task force that is centered in Delray, and it's far more particular to our higher elevation. Our limestone is different from the limestone down there. We are not exactly the same, but we all share a common issue. And the issue really for us is more the sanctity of our drinking water. As sea levels rise, the water comes from the underneath, and our drinking water becomes more saline. Over time, we'll probably have to do some things, but we're not going to do it. Delray's going to have to do it because Delray supplies our water. So we participate with them to provide support and in some cases insight into the differences between one municipality versus another. And we're all different. I think this is was a good idea for them to alert us to what they're doing. You could have found out by reading the newspaper just as easily.
Well, thanks for elucidating that, because I was a little confused by it, but I did take the initiative of reading their plan. And as long as it was, it did call, as I read it, for a considerable interaction from local municipalities and municipal officers, which I was unfamiliar with, an effort being done up here to work on such conference. But anyway, so it's just to keep us apprised of what the city of Miami is doing.
Right.
Very good.
In all likelihood, by the way, I may end up going to that Congress because they would like to have a representative from every municipality. And it's interesting, and I mean, you learn something in the process, and hopefully the objective for us, for people like us, is more focused towards economic issues, such as how best to prepare ourselves for inevitable increases in the price of flood insurance. And we are working to try and shave away and make sure that the FEMA and the people that are responsible for the assessment of the risks that we're going to be taking are informed that we are working on mitigating those risks as best we can, and therefore don't keep raising our flood insurance rates beyond that which is
I think that's part of the resolution 1417 that we'll be discussing in a few minutes. Very good. Let's move to items for commission action. Items by mayor and commissioners. I have an item. As you all know, on behalf of the town, I filed complaints with the Florida Bar against members of the Boyle Law Firm for unethical misconduct and against Jonathan Boyle specifically for unlicensed practice of law. Doing that with what I've always considered, and I don't think there's any question about it, the implicit direction of this commission to work with our attorneys, both special counsel and our existing representing Jones Foster Law Firm in defending the cases against us and advancing all claims that the attorneys felt were necessary. Counsel for Mr. O'Boyle has raised a question of that, saying that the mayor was not authorized by the commission to file those complaints. And I don't think it is an issue, but just to make sure that we cover all bases, I'm requesting a retroactive commission approval of the mayor's submission of these complaints to the Bar Association. And I'd like to have that discussed now. Perhaps Mr. Randolph could touch on it.
Yes, as the mayor has indicated, I believe it was implicit by your previous action to authorize the mayor to take such actions. But because the issue has been raised, I think it would be appropriate for you to ratify retroactively the actions that have been taken by the mayor in that regard. To be specific, what we would look for is a motion that the town commission ratify Mayor Morgan's August 25th, 2014 filing of a complaint against the O'Boyle Law Firm, William Ring, Giovanni Mesa, Nicholas Taylor, Rhonda Williams, and Ryan Whitmer with the Florida Bar's Attorney Consumer Assistance Program, ACAP, and a complaint against Jonathan O'Boyle with the Florida Bar's Unlicensed Practice of Law Division. Included in that motion would also be that the town commission authorizes Mayor Morgan and or the town's legal counsel at Jones Foster Johnson and Stubbs, PA, Richmond Greer, PA, and Sweet Apple Broker and Vargas, PL, to communicate with ACAP, the Florida Bar, and counsel for the respondents on behalf of the town in regard to those complaints. So if you wish to ratify that action based upon your previous direction, such a motion would be appropriate.
Comment first and then a motion. The comment is that I personally, and I believe my colleagues all accept implicitly that way back, considerable period of time, this is precisely what we expected to have happen. And therefore I think that the complaints are kind of procedural. I move, and I can't repeat that, but I move that motion be accepted.
I'll second it.
Read it.
Commissioner Ganger?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, come on before you vote. It is before the public, and I have an opportunity to comment, please. For years, Jones Foster has represented this town without an agreement. It did public record request, no agreement ever exists. That's an ethics violation of the Florida statutes. I'm glad you're finally fixing that. It's about time. In regard to retroactively covering your sunshine violation, I don't think that's going to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Hare. Okay.
I'll start over. Commissioner Ganger?
Yes.
Commissioner Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes.
May I make a comment
You certainly may.
in regards to that topic? I sat through those meetings, and it is certainly my understanding as town manager that it was your responsibility to act in a manner that you thought would protect our town, which I think you did. And in no way did I feel as though I should have stepped in and signed anything of that nature. So my understanding of the meeting and my understanding of the actions that you have taken are exactly what was asked of you. And in that regard, thank you.
I agree with Bill Thrasher. We
Yes.
talked about it at a meeting, and we gave Mayor Morgan now explicit directions to be the head of the council for our litigation. And I think he's acting exactly like he should have.
Thank you very much. There's another item, and that is an ordinance section 70-71C, which is a modification of the town code that we had passed not too long ago, but which gave incentives to builders and architects if they create more interest in the design of homes to grant them an additional square footage. That has not borne out the way we wanted it. by some of the homes that have gone up recently. Mr. Thrasher can explain better than I can as to what the issues were.
Well, it relates to the intent of the incentive. The intent of the incentive was to create architectural elements within a two-story structure that in essence did not make the home appear as though it was a block, a big, large block. And some architects are very creative, much smarter than myself, and they have used this technique to, in essence, just add 5% more square footage to the home that they proposed. We have examples that I could articulate. I just would not go in that direction unless asked. But I do believe that this particular section of code that we added should be at least repealed or at least reviewed. And so until that is discussed at the ARPB and ultimately back to the commission, I think if possible we should take some kind of action to see that this sort of building doesn't take place in the near
Is there
future.
some way we can, because I agree to make more architectural features and then, you know, try to have some creativity, and all they're using is massiveness.
Yeah.
That's what I take. Is there any way we can reward that to still try to create?
It's possible, but it needs a review. Right now,
Okay.
it's open for interpretation, and it goes back to an idea or concept that some architects respect
Yeah.
the intent of the code. It may not be literal, but they respect the intent of the code and actually augment their architectural design to align with that. Some applications aren't presented to us by architects, individuals, but the code actually, it says any portion of the multi-story that is set back. And a design could be that you have this two-story home attached to a garage by a structured trellis element, making it the same as this, making it the entire thing a single family structure. So they could set back the garage and the whole front part, the main mass, could be close to a block design. So
I think the options are to eliminate this entirely and/or come up with some other language that is better worded, that provides incentives and still protects the town against massiveness.
Is it possible? Do you know how to rewrite it to make it?
Oh, no, I haven't considered how to rewrite it.
That's,
What would be the procedure moving forward to address it?
I would think you would, if you're in favor of moving forward with such a study, that as you've done in the past, when an item has been put under study, you've declared zoning in progress to protect against people coming in after this has been announced and attempting to take advantage of that provision. You've done that in the past in regard to study items, and what would happen is if you approve of this study, you would make a motion to do so, and you would declare zoning in progress during the period of the study so as to preclude any permits from being granted which are in contravention of the intention of the study.
I agree with that. To do zoning in progress till we can figure out how to change the language, or if we can't.
We direct the ARPB to revisit it, or does it come directly?
I think once you make this decision, that would be implicit, but you can sure say, direct ARPB to revisit this issue.
Well, I'm certainly in favor of the zoning in progress while this is evaluated, and to have the ARPB look at it and make a decision whether it should be repealed altogether or whether it can be modified in terms of its language to better effectuate the goal that we were trying to achieve here.
Well, what's the section of the code you're referring to?
70-71 subsection C, I believe. 71 subsection C.
I think I could move to, do.
Excuse me, before
Go
you
ahead.
make a motion, are there currently submissions that would be affected by this? And I assume that nothing changes for something that's already in the file.
You are correct. I don't know the answer to the first question, but you are correct in regard to the second question. Anybody that's already in the loop and has filed would not be affected by zoning in progress.
Describing intent is difficult, to say the least. And I think we all know what it is, but, you know, it's like pornography, it's in the eye of the beholder. And I think in this case, this is a bigger issue than trying